Hello, and welcome to Body Language by EmbodyYou. I'm Annette and I'm so glad you're here. This show is where we take a step back from the shoulds and the should nots of social media and really learn what your body is saying and how to speak its language. We're going to dive into topics like gut health, birth control, cycle health, and give you real-world, honest examples of what these actually might mean to you. My goal is to create a space that you can come back to whenever you need a reset or just don't know how to go forward. New episodes will be released weekly, and I cannot wait to take you along with this journey. Let's get started. We are back and we're ready to learn how to channel our inner gym girl today. I'm going to teach you guys all of the ins and outs of the gym, what you should focus on, how to build a workout, and what workouts are actually going to be effective towards your goals. This episode is for actually anyone who is interested in exercise, getting in the gym, already is in the gym, or just wants to know a little bit more about how to move your body effectively. So let's get into it. Obviously, for every single one of the girls in our program, we teach them how to build workouts, how to live this lifestyle forever once we find what works for them. I decided what better way to give out this information than make another podcast episode on it, because this is information that everyone should have. I was in the cycle of working out so much, not seeing any results, and being so frustrated by it that I would do anything for just one person to have this knowledge so that they don't need to fight themselves or swim upstream anymore when it comes to their goals. So first, we're going to talk about what is the most effective when it comes to workouts. And it definitely depends on your goal. Now, I will say if you're someone who is, working a lot, kind of stressed out, running from place to place, and you're someone who does like a HIIT 45-minute group class, hot something, I would challenge you to try something different, because what these high intensity exercises do is actually add more stress onto our body. So exercise is a stressor, right? But it can be worth it, and it can be a good one when done in like the Goldilocks amount in the correct way. If it's not, it can do more harm than good, which is actually so annoying, because you're like, I spent so much time and energy and did this when I didn't want to, and it didn't even work, or it made me feel more inflamed, more puffy, etc. So if you're someone who's like, I want to lose fat and I'm feeling skinny fat, I feel bloated, I feel inflamed, high intensity cardio running, those are not going to be your friends when it comes to fat loss, when it comes to lowering inflammation and lowering bloating. What is going to be your friend is strength training, low impact workouts, right? Just because your workout didn't make you like almost throw up, lose your breath, or be extremely sore does not mean it didn't work, right? We tend to correlate the effectiveness of a workout with how sore we are or how tired we were. And that's definitely just not a correct correlation. You can have a really good workout and not feel like you just ran a marathon, and also not feel super sore the next day, especially if you've been consistent. Because as we continue getting consistent, our body gets less and less sore. Like when you haven't worked out in a while, or you get new workouts, you're like, I'm so sore. And that's because your body's not used to it, and that's okay. But as we continue to progress and get better, your body gets used to it, you get less sore. So like I said, high intensity running, cardio, your 12-3-30, your Stairmaster are not going to be good enough on their own for you to see results, right? Something that is going to always be important, that is going to always be the driver and the winner, is strength training. You have to have muscle on your body for so many reasons, especially longevity purposes, especially in women. We are very quick to develop osteoporosis. As soon as we hit menopause, and even at age 30, our muscle literally just deteriorates by the day. We need to make sure we have muscle on our body. And it's so, so important. And that's why strength training will never go away. It's not a trend. It's not a fad. It will always be so important for women, especially, and for men, obviously, just for any human to have muscle on their body. But what's cool about strength training is you can manipulate your workouts to reach desired goals. So if you want to grow your glutes, you're not growing them on the Stairmaster. You're not growing them at your Pilates or your yoga class, right? Those have their purposes. They are great. I am not demonizing any workouts. I'm not saying Pilates is bad. I just tried it for the first time, actually. Extremely humbling. Great workout, right? I'm excited because I feel like it's going to really build my core strength, and I'm going to start doing Pilates a little bit. Will I ever stop working out and lifting weights? No, because I know the importance. I like to have, bigger glutes or look strong in my arms, whatever. You're not going to build them with your little 2-pound dumbbells, but what you will do is build them, and you can manipulate your workouts to do that. And also, that's when we sprinkle in a little bit of cardio. And by cardio, I mean an incline walk. I mean something that you can still have a conversation with your neighbor next to you, and you can hold steady for 30 minutes. that is like the fat burning zone. I'm talking 10K steps a day, right? Not anything crazy. The only girls that run in our program are the girls that like to run. If you don't like to run, we will never make you run. Simple as that. If you don't like to do the stairs, you don't have to do the stairs. You should do something that you love, whether that be jogging, running, Stairmaster, elliptical, incline walk, just going on a walk, rollerblading, biking, whatever it is, you should like it. That's where we'll introduce cardio, and it is for very specific results, and it is not something that we always are pushing. We definitely pull back on cardio most of the time, especially for that stress reduction. So if you're someone who goes into the gym, you're doing a bunch of cardio, and then you might do your little arm or leg day, flip the two. So maybe you need a 5-10 minute warm-up walk to get your body moving. Do that. But if you're doing like your crazy 12-3-30 or your stairs before your workout and you're not focusing on just like endurance, I would say switch the two of them. Focus on your strength training, put your energy there, and then follow it up with a little bit of cardio, then follow it up with the stairs or an incline walk. Because when you put your energy into your lift, your results are going to be so much better. You are going to feel so much better, I promise, once you start focusing on your lifts and not just taking those as like the second layer. That really should be your first priority when you get into the gym is strength training. So if you're like, well, Annette, I don't know what I should do when I get in the gym. If I don't hear this every single day, which is why we have a program, right? We teach girls exactly how to work out for their bodies, what actually matters. We don't have any girls in the gym 6 days a week, max 5 days a week. And one of those is usually just like a walk day, an ab circuit. We have girls truly lifting 3 to 4 times a week, some of them even 2 times a week, depending on their schedule. And so when you get in the gym, it's important to know what you're doing. If you're literally doing random workouts every time you go there, you are wasting your time. Your body has no clue what's happening. It has no reason to grow. It has no reason to recognize a pattern. Our bodies like consistency. So consistency and just going is great, but there's a difference between going to the gym to check the box of, hey, I worked out, and going to the gym with a specific goal and a specific strategy. So if you know, hey, I was just built this glute workout, I'm going to do this, on Thursdays for the next 6 weeks. And I know as soon as I keep progressing in this workout, lifting heavier and heavier each week, increasing my weights, increasing my reps, slowing it down, whatever it might be, I will get stronger. You will keep going. But if you're someone who's like, I just go to the gym to say I go to the gym, but I'm not motivated, it's because you're not working on anything. You don't have a plan, right? If you have a plan, you're so much more likely to go and get it done. And I see this with every single girl in our program that comes in inconsistent or telling me she's not motivated. I'm like, I'm going to challenge you right now because it's literally because you don't have a plan. And once you do, you will see everything will change. We've had girls not in the gym for over 3 years. They join our program and they've literally not missed a workout in months. And they're like, who knew all I needed was a plan and some results to keep myself motivated, right? And to keep myself consistent. I wouldn't blame you for continuing to do something that wasn't working, that was also not fun at the same time. So you have to enjoy your workouts, and you should really always focus on strength training over just straight cardio. Now, when you are doing your strength training exercises, the order of your workouts does matter. So trying to keep it as consistent as possible. That being said, if you're like, I need the Smith machine and this person just won't get off, and you need to flip things around and go do your lunges first, you can do that, right? It's not live or die, but it is important to try to have some sort of structure. So usually what we'll do is we'll structure our workouts to do like the big lifts first. So think of, whatever lifts you need the most energy in. So we call those your compounds. So your squats, your deadlifts, your bench press, your rows, your lat pull downs, things like that take a lot of muscles. We tend to put those at the front, right? That's super important just so we give those our max, right? And we really keep progressing and getting stronger there. Then we'll tend to go into some unilateral work. So unilateral obviously means one side at a time. So things like lunges, Bulgarian split squats, single arm rows, single arm bicep curls, things like that where you do one side and then you switch. Everyone's nemesis, I swear. Every time we do a unilateral, you're like, oh, I did my right side, but holy hell, I have a left side too. And you're like wanting to cry. Those are those workouts. And then we tend to get into accessory movements. So these, think like machines, tricep extensions, leg extensions, things like that are really going to burn out at the end. That is like a very basic structure, obviously with a warm up, a cool down, stretch, foam roll at the end. But this is where it gets fun and you can be really creative with your workouts, is to think before you even start. Like let's say we're doing a leg day. Before we even start with the first exercise, which let's say is hip thrusts, I want to get my glutes on fire. So what will I do? I might throw some seated abductions first, right? I might go in there, do a couple sets, like 3 sets till failure, or 3 sets until I'm like, oh my gosh, my glutes are on fire, so that I don't have to wait until like set 3 of hip thrusts to start feeling it. Another thing that I see a lot of people do is just use the booty bands and do some donkey kicks, some fire hydrants, and be like, oh, leg day, got my glutes in. Booty bands alone will not build your glutes, but what they can do is intensify your workout and also be a really good burnout in between sets, or also at the beginning or at the end of your workout. So we have a lot of our girls start their glute days with, we do some leg work, we do some hip mobility, and then we might have them do some glute bridges, right, to start, or some kickbacks to really fire up their glutes before they get going. That's what mini bands can be really, really good for, or adding them to your workout. So if you're doing hip thrusts, do them banded to add a little bit more intensity. If you're doing the leg press machine, add a band around your legs to get a little bit more intense. Maybe you're doing hip thrusts and in between sets, you want to do some kickbacks with your mini band just to really keep those glutes fired up. You can do that. That's when things get really fun, is you start to create your own destiny when it comes to your workouts and your intensity. So with our girls, with online coaching, you don't have someone standing next to you, but we can see all the weight they use, the reps they do, all of that. And also we teach all of them how to bring the intensity for themselves. So adding in things like drop sets or tempo training or reverse pyramids or pyramid sets, you might be like, what are all these things? These are things that we teach our girls in the program so that they never have to get bored or think that they're stalled with their weight loss or their muscle growth, because there's always something you can do to increase intensity or get stronger with your workouts. I've talked about my girl Katie in a previous episode. She's been with me for almost 2 years. And the thing about her is she's like so freaking strong, and she also takes so much accountability in her workouts. So she's someone that's adding in drop sets. She's adding in tempo training, right? She's pushing herself further and further. And she's at the point where she's like done all of her form checks with me. I've seen all of her movements, and I'm like, girl, you do your thing. Like, you know what you're doing. She looks like such a badass in the gym because she's so strong. She's doing these things and she's feeling confident and she's seeing crazy muscle growth, which is super exciting. So knowing that you can always level up, there's always things to learn and get better at, is really exciting when it comes to your workouts. A question that I get a lot with workouts is like, okay, Annette, but how many sets should I do? How many reps should I do? And the answer here is, it depends. Everyone's favorite answer, but it really does. It depends on your goals. It depends on the structure of your workout. You really only need 4 to 5 solid movements to have a good workout. You don't need 10 different movements for your leg day, right? If you can do 4 to 5 solid exercises well and do, 3 to 4 max sets of each of them, you will have a fantastic workout. But when I say the word set, and this is always something where I get like, are you serious, Annette? In our program, because we'll program full sets, full reps, right? And we tell them rep ranges or how many we want them to get, things like that. When we say 4 sets, those warm-up sets at the beginning, those don't count. So if you're doing hip thrusts and you're like starting off with, the bar, or maybe you go up, you put some 25s on it, you do 95 pounds, and then you're like finally up, at 135, 185, whatever your hip thrust weight is, when you're actually hitting that rep range, then you start. So you might have a couple sets of warm up, which don't start, because if you think about it, if you had 4 sets, 2 of them are warm up, you really only got 2 working sets. That's what we call those, working sets, when you're actually working. So remember that if you're doing 3 sets and you're warming up for one of them, that doesn't count. So don't count that, and then do 3 full working sets. And by working sets, like I said, I mean that's when you're putting in the work. For these, when you have a rep range, I think a confusing way that people look at it is like, okay, I'm going to do 12 and done. That's not what we want. 12 is so you understand how much weight you should pick. You should be able to get 12, if not maybe 1 more, maybe 1 less. We might say 10 to 12 reps, like in a rep range. That's where we want you to hit failure. That's how heavy you should be going. You should not be able to hit 15, 16, 17, 18 reps when your rep range is 10 to 12. That's when you say, oh shoot, I guess I'm stronger than I thought. And you up the weight, right? You add more weight. You're like, okay, I got to get in that 10 to 12 rep range. Once you start getting 13, 14 reps, then okay, I can up the weight. Or next week, I'm going to go heavier. And you might go heavier, and then you might be only sitting at 8, 9 reps, and you're going to keep using that weight week to week until you get up to that 10 to 12 reps. Once you get past it again, you're going to up your weight again. And it's like this cycle where you keep getting stronger. That's what we call progressive overload, and hypertrophy, which is that muscle building over time. So a lot of us are training for that, right? We want to see our backs look nice and sexy. We want to have those like big juicy glutes. We need to progressively overload over time, aka adding more weight, adding more reps. And you will not do that if you're not training till failure. And by failure, I mean like cannot pull it one more rep. Like you're shaking, you're like barely getting your last rep, you're fighting for it. That's where muscle growth happens. If you can do your rep and you're like, I had like 10 more in the tank, you're not going to see any change. Even if you had like 5 more in the tank, you're not going to see any change. And a way we measure this is RIR and RPE. So RIR is reps in reserve. So this is like how many reps did you have left in the tank? If you have 3, 4, 5 reps left in the tank, you're not really training around that muscle building area, right? If you have like 0 to 1, max 2, but probably like 0 to 1 reps left in the tank, like you could not do one more, that's when you're actually building muscle. That's when your muscles are getting to the spot where they're like breaking down. You go home, you eat your protein, you eat your food, and then they repair and then they get bigger. And then you keep repeating those same workouts. We're not guessing anymore, right? We're doing the same workouts for X amount of weeks at a time. You're going to keep building, and then you're going to switch it up and your body's going to get a new stimulus, and then you're going to keep building. And that's the fun thing, and why girls are like, I just stayed consistent for like 3 months. And it's like, well, yeah, because you were working towards something. You had a plan. You got new workouts every X amount of weeks. That keeps you interested, right? So RIR, reps in reserve, and RPE, rate of perceived exertion. So how hard do you feel like you went on that set? If you're like a 9, 10, that's where we want you to be. That was like a 10 out of 10, right? If you're like 7, around there, like we want you to be up in that 8, 9, 10 range. Leaning obviously towards like the harder sets, right? The 9s to the 10s. Always, always, always prioritizing form. You should never compromise your form for lifting a certain amount of weights, because if you do, you cannot lift that weight. If you can't lift it safely, you cannot lift it, right? So if you're having to like use momentum to get something to go, or you're having to arch your back, or your lower back hurts, or things like that, that is very telling that that weight is too heavy and you're just going to injure yourself while doing it. So making sure you're always prioritizing form, always prioritizing rest, not working out 6 days a week, 7 days a week, and not giving yourself any rest. Rest is when the things happen. So I think a lot of people think when you're in the gym is when your muscles build. It's actually the opposite. That's when your muscles break down. When you're sleeping, when you're resting, when you're eating, that's when your muscles build. So you should prioritize that just as much as you prioritize your workouts. And no, you don't have to be in the gym to see results. We have a lot of women work out from home. We have them work out, using random props around their house or with a couple sets of dumbbells. You don't need anything crazy fancy. You just need a plan and strategy behind it. And so when that is your scenario, it is better for you if you're a busy mom or you're gone 12 hours a day to not add another hour, to not, add more stress to your life, trying to run and make it to that 4:30 HIIT class. That's not going to serve you. Going home, relaxing, being with your family, recharging, maybe doing a quick 30-minute workout from home, that will. So knowing that comparing yourself to someone else is not going to serve you. Not everyone has the same 24 hours, right? I don't have the same 24 hours as my sister who has a 2.5-year-old kid, right? We all have different 24 hours, and I understand that I get to be very lucky and fit in, an hour at the gym, whereas some people don't get that. So don't compare apples to oranges in this scenario. Your wellness is your wellness, and what works for you works for you. And that's the beautiful thing, is you have to find what that looks like. And you will not find those answers on TikTok, on Instagram, following any other influencers, what I eat in a day. You won't find it. It's all about you and your wellness. And I think one big thing that I just want to mention is running is becoming really, really popular, which I'm not a running hater. I'm not a shamer. I run here and there. I'll dabble over the summer. I was running like a 5K a week. Well, we won't go back there. It was not fun. I didn't like it, but I was just trying, right? I was like, maybe I could be this cool runner. Nope. Wrong. One thing I want to say is when you see these influencers start running, if you are someone who does not have adequate nutrition aligned with your running, rest aligned with your running, a program that's actually built to be able to handle running and your workouts and your life and all of it at once, just know that. Just know that these people that are running, that are adding on, to their current routine, have a strategy behind it, right? They have a plan, they have science, they have enough programmed rest. They're not just going out and running 5 miles a day on top of everything else they're doing and looking how they look. They have very much a strategy and a plan. And so I don't want anyone to think that they need to go run outside because they saw their favorite influencer start to run and that's the crazy biohack. It's not. It always kind of like comes back around every couple of years. Running becomes like a very big trend. Again, I'm not a running hater. If you're a running lover, that's awesome. It is not everyone's form of cardio. It is not beneficial for everyone. It can be very hard on our bodies, very hard on our joints. Also, if we're really stressed out, it's not the best form of cardio, right? It's not the best form of exercise to see our fat loss goals or our toning goals, which is majority of the girls we work with. So that's just who I'm speaking to. At the end of the day, movement should feel good, right? It should feel like what you want to do. It should feel like medicine. It should feel like a stress reliever. And you should look forward to it. If it is something that is not, we need to work through that, right? We need to find something that is, movement isn't an option. I don't think it's something that, some people I just don't move my body, right? I think everyone should have that as a part of their routine. It's just the most healthy thing you could do for yourself if it's in the correct amounts, in the correct ways that we've talked about. But I think we get so caught up in all of the boxes we need to check. Like, okay, I need this workout and this heart rate and this many steps today. And I need to journal and meditate and read and hit XYZ goal, and we put so many numbers behind it and we get so analytical and data driven that we forget that it's okay to like leave your watch at home, not track your steps on your Oura ring. And like those don't actually make the difference, right? You're doing it either way. We have a lot of girls that are like, I forgot my Apple Watch for my workout today. It doesn't count. I'm like, oh, it counts, right? Your Apple Watch didn't do it. Your body did it. So taking away that like stress and structure of having to like so analytically track and just do it because you like it. Do it because it feels good or you feel more energized or, you're feeling better in your clothes or you're sleeping better. Move because you want to, not because you feel like you have to. Move in a way that feels good for you, not in a way that you feel like is the only thing that's going to work. Because if you're doing something that you don't love, that does not make you happy, it will not bring you to where you want to be. It will not give you the body that you want. You have to be aligned with your movement. You have to feel good about it. You have to feel confident about it, and it will bring you to where you want to go. I say it to every single girl in our program, but physical results follow mental. And so if your mental is not in the right place, your mindset is not in the right place, you will never achieve those physical goals. Once you flip the script and you're like, my physical body is just a byproduct of a healthy and strong mind, that's when everything happens. That's when you start to see your goals and your results that you've never had before. And you're like, all it took was flipping my narrative about what wellness meant, what exercise meant, and really finding something that aligned with who I am and where I want to go. So as always, I'm a resource. I'm someone that is going to be here to answer any questions for you. I do have a full guide about building workouts, and this is like, it's kind of everything I talked about written out. If you want that, DM me on Instagram at annette.lane or at EmbodyYou Wellness. If you want those, I will send them to you. Just DM me or comment on this podcast guide and I will send it to you. But send this episode to someone you love. If you want that guide, ask me. If you want someone else that you know to have that guide, ask me. I'm happy to share it. Knowledge is power, and every woman deserves to feel aligned with her wellness, with her workouts, and with herself. From the teacher in me to the teacher in all of you, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I will see you next week.